Hey everybody, welcome to Algebra 1 Lesson 7. And in this lesson, we're going to be focusing in on symbols of inclusion. We're going to jump right into the lesson practice for this lesson because you've already learned everything you need to know about symbols of inclusion. The other thing I'm going to add is that symbols of inclusion can contain a lot of different types of symbols, okay? So symbols of inclusion could be parentheses, that's what we're used to seeing, or square brackets, or braces, like those squiggly braces we use for set notation. Those could be symbols of inclusion. And then some other symbols of inclusion that are very common are long fraction bars. You have to work what's on top of and below long fraction bars first. And then also absolute value signs are symbols of inclusion. So all of those count as symbols of inclusion, and you have to be ready to use order of operations, working what's inside those symbols first before doing operations outside those symbols. And then once you get to the operations outside the symbols of inclusion, you have to also be ready to follow order of operations as you continue to simplify expressions. The other thing I'm going to mention is that within symbols of inclusion, you have to use order of operations. We're going to be talking about that in some of these as well. Okay, let's get started with expression A. Here we have 12 plus the absolute value of 5 minus 11, and then the absolute value inside ends. We have to work what's in the absolute value sign first. So I'm not going to do 12 plus 5 first because I have to simplify what's inside the absolute value symbol. So this is going to be 12 plus the absolute value of 5 minus 11. I'm going to repeat the exact problem here just to get started. Okay, now let's simplify what's in the absolute value symbol. It's going to be 12 plus the absolute value of, see, 5 minus 11. Oh man, I'm subtracting two integers. That means that I'm going to find the different, they have different, let's see, I'm subtracting, which means I'm going to add the opposite. And they have different signs, so it's 5 plus negative 11. I'm going to find the difference. The difference between 5 and 11 is 6. And then I'm going to keep the sign of the larger one. 11 is the larger number, so I'm going to keep the negative sign. That's going to be negative 6. But it's in an absolute value symbol. So the next step, I'm just going to get rid of the absolute value symbol by simplifying. What I have to do is make everything inside the absolute value symbol a positive number. I have negative 6 in there. That's going to become positive 6. And then I'm left with 18. I'm done with letter A. All right, let's move on to letter B and see if this one's any different. Letter A was really easy. Let's see if letter B is the same. Okay, so for B, let's see if I can get this lined up correctly here. Whatever. Okay, so for B, we're doing 5 times 8 plus 4 in parentheses. 8 plus 4. The divided by sign, I'm just going to use a slash. That's going to be 15 minus 5 minus 4. Okay, so simplifying what's in parentheses first is going to be 5 times 12 divided by 15 minus 5 is 10, minus 4 is 6, divided by 6. Now I work from left to right with multiplication and division. 5 times 12 is 60. So it's going to be 60 divided by 6. 60 divided by 6 equals 10. The answer for letter B is 10. Let's move on to letter C. Letter C is actually one that requires a little bit more thinking. It's not really hard, but it does require just a little bit more thinking than the previous one. In this one, we have this long inclusion symbol. So 5 plus, open bracket, 6 times, and then in parentheses, 2 cubed plus 4, and then end bracket. Okay, now here's the thing. What I need to look for is the innermost inclusion symbol. I have to work the innermost inclusion symbol first and then work my way to outermost. My innermost inclusion symbol is this parentheses with 2 cubed plus 4. And within those parentheses, I have to do order of operations. Exponents, 2 cubed, gets done before addition. So this is going to change into 8 plus 4, which is going to simplify to 12. So I'm going to be left down below here with 5 plus 6 times 12. And then I can get rid of that innermost parenthesis there. Next thing I'm going to do is what's in the inclusion symbol in parentheses. I have to do 6 times 12 next. I know, and you can do long multiplication if you need to, but I know that 6 times 12 is 72. So this is going to be 5 plus 72. And then I'm just going to do my last little bit of math. 77 is the answer. All right, letter D. Simplify the expression, justify each step. Now, normally I would write a justification for each step, but because I'm doing this verbally, I'm just going to say my justification for each step out loud. So this is another long one. 4 times 1 plus 2 in parentheses squared divided by 6 plus, and then over a fraction bar, 8 times 3 divided by 2. And I'm just going to show that fraction bar here because it's important. I'm going to put in an actual fraction bar. Okay, so now we need to figure out the order we're going to do this thing. And as I look at this problem, I'm going to realize that I have parentheses. I have actual parentheses over on the left-hand side. That's going to simplify first. 4 times 3 squared divided by 6 plus. I'm also going to simplify on top of the fraction bar because remember the long fraction bar acts as an inclusion symbol. So I know I have to do whatever operations are on top and on bottom of the fraction bar first. 8 times 3 is 24, and that's going to be 24 over 2. I'm just going to still write this out like a fraction just because that's the right thing to do. So we'll just bring this down. Okay, next. Next, we have to do our exponent is the next thing in order of operations. So this is going to be 4 times 3 squared, which is 4 times 9 divided by 6. 4 times 9 divided by 6 plus, and I can just simplify 24 over 2 is 12. All right. Now I'm going to multiply and divide from left to right. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So 4 times 9 is 36, divided by 6 is 6. This is going to be 6 plus 12. And then I'm going to do addition from left to right. 6 plus 12 is 18. So the answer here is 18. All right, letter E. To do letter E, I'm actually going to have to solve 2 expressions. I'm going to do this one up. I'm going to move it up here on the page so I've got plenty of space to write out 2 separate expressions. My first expression is going to be 13 plus 5 in parentheses minus, and then in brackets, 5 times 2 squared. Okay, I have to do this one first, and then I'm going to do the other one after this. So let's see. I have to do what's in the inclusion symbols first. So 13 plus 5 is 18 minus, and then 5 times 2 squared. Well, I can't do 5 times 2 until I do exponents. Exponents come first. 2 squared is 4, so it's going to be minus 5 times 4. And then I can simplify that by doing what's in the inclusion symbols next. 18 minus 20. My answer is negative 2. So the answer to the left side of this thing is negative 2. Let's see what's on the right side. So this expression, open bracket, 7 plus 11 in parentheses, minus 5 end bracket, minus 2 cubed. Okay, so we're going to do the innermost parentheses first. So I'm going to do 7 plus 11 right away. It's going to be 18 minus 5 in brackets minus 2 cubed. I can simplify 2 cubed right away too because I know exponents have to go next anyway. 2 cubed is going to be 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. 8, there we go, that's correct. All right, now I have to do what's in the inclusion symbols. So it's going to be 18 minus 5 first. It's going to be 13 minus 8, which is going to be the same thing as 5. So I know that 5 is greater than negative 2, but negative 2 is on the left, so I would say negative 2 is less than 5. So the symbol that would go in that block, in that circle as set up, would be the less than symbol like that. All right, and let's do F. This one's going to be more of a word problem. And according to this word problem, okay, let's start over. There we go. Body mass index is a relation of weight and height. The expression weight over height squared times 703, where W is weight in pounds, H is height in inches, is used to calculate BMI. Explain the steps necessary to simplify the expression. Okay, so for this we're not actually simplifying. So what do we have to do? First, we would square height because it is below the fraction bar as an inclusion symbol. Then divide weight by that quantity because it is in parentheses. Finally, multiply by 703 because that's the last step. And that's how I would do it. All right, and that's how we're going to work these ones. There's not much new here except we have more kinds of inclusion symbols, and there's inclusion symbols within inclusion symbols. That's really the new breakthrough type of problem here, is that we're dealing with inclusion symbols inside inclusion symbols. You have to remember to work the innermost inclusion symbols first, work your way out to the outermost ones.